Did you know that an estimated 330 million people will suffer this year from a social media addiction? That's an insane amount of people to me. So, shouldn't we as a society be encouraging our teenagers or kids to take breaks, and even ourselves? We need to take breaks as a society to kind of recharge and reset our well being and our mental health. Um, So there are currently 4.44 billion mobile internet users globally. And with the rise of users, there's also been a rise in anxiety and depression. So since the beginning of smartphones, which started about 2005 is when we started seeing like the very first kind of smartphones being released, touch screens coming out, internet being more easily accessible. So from 2005 to 2017, there's been an increase in depression in adolescents from about 52%. So I can personally remember the first time seeing a smartphone. I was like, wow, like it's so cool. It's got a touch screen. Like that's the future. And sure enough, it took off. And since then, we've evolved from a flip phone to now a touch screen, and everything is at our fingertips. And we're really connected as a society, but we're also very disconnected from each other. It's kind of a catch-22. So I just remember growing up, I remember getting on the landline, getting on the home phone, whatever you want to call it, and talking to one of my best friends, probably like third grade, for hours and hours and hours. We would just talk and catch up and this and that, and we would spend hours on the phone. And so we just don't do that anymore. And I know we don't have time to sit there and talk to people for hours on the phone. Everyone's got lives. We're very busy as adults now, but I think it just kind of shows you how much things have changed, how much people prefer text messages or emails or even voice messages, which are kind of personal, but you're still not having that interaction that we would normally have on a phone. So social media has really opened a big door of connecting to people around the world, but it's also brought a lot of negatives with it. So one of those being cyberbullying, and because of this, suicide rates in children and teens have gone up 150%. Like that's insane. It's terrible. It's so sad. But teens are going on their phones, they're scrolling and scrolling for hours, and they're just looking at these posts and they're looking at these things and they're like, why don't I have that? Why don't I look like that? And so it's just had so many negative, like damaging effects on kids, on teenagers growing up in this day and age with phones so easily at our fingertips. So I just think about how damaging that can be for our youth, and I kind of just kind of connect it. I'm like, I wonder if these are the same kids that when they were 2, maybe they were given an iPad to keep busy, and so we're not really giving our kids a fair chance to succeed when we're telling them like, oh, here's like an easy little way out. It kind of is like a drug. Like we're kind of giving them this phone, like here, like keep quiet, keep yourself entertained while we're busy at dinner, or blah blah blah. And then they grow up and they don't know how to manage boredom. They don't know how to communicate properly, and it's causing a lot of issues and weird, uncomfortable, awkward silences in today's age. So the average person spends about 2.5 hours on their smartphone. And I'm very guilty of this. I catch myself scrolling when I don't need to be. I catch myself anywhere, anytime. I do catch myself. And I'm like, Nicole, what are you doing? So I see how my time is very valuable as a single mom, working full time, going to school full time. I do it as a single parent, and so my time is valuable. So to me, that extra 2.5 hours could be spent working out, it could be spent reading, it could be spent playing with my son, doing a fun activity. Like that's 2.5 hours of my day. Like I always say, there's not enough time in the day. But clearly there is if I'm on my phone. So I think until we have numbers in our face, we don't really see like how damaging or how long we are on our phones. And so it's great because Apple and a lot of phones nowadays, they tell us how much time we're spending on them. So they'll have this great little diagram or bars or pie chart or whatever it is of how much time you're spending and where you're spending it. So it'll give you a little social media, like you're spending 4 more hours than last week on social media. And so I don't think until we get those numbers in front of our face, we don't realize how much time we're actually spending. And I know that you can set limits and things like that for your phones, so I think this is a great feature for us. I think we should be really using it more because it will go off on us if we're going over our daily limit, and then we can be like, oh, like, need to go do something proactive with our lives now. So simply keeping our phones out of reach during like daily activities like checking the mailbox, going for a walk, going for a run, watching a show. I can't tell you how many shows I didn't watch but were watching because I was just scrolling on my phone the whole time. So when we're really engaging and we can be present in the moment, I feel like that is when the anxieties, the fears, the depression really go away. And so when we disconnect, we actually become more connected. I actually babysat for a family one time, and the parents kept their phones in like a little basket downstairs to charge at night, and I just thought like how amazing their relationship must be. I know not every marriage or relationship is perfect, but I thought if they did that every night, they're engaging with each other, they're unwinding, there's no blue screen throwing off their sleep pattern. Like they probably have a great communication and a great relationship. So I think if we could imagine like what that would do at night, like think about what we could do during the day. Because I know I'm guilty of falling asleep scrolling on my phone, and I know that's not healthy. The blue light is damaging, and I need to stop that. So imagine where we can communicate openly as a society, where we're actually looking at strangers on the sidewalk and smiling and saying hi rather than just looking at our phones, smiling down at our screens. It can really change a person's day when we just give a simple smile or a hello or how's it going. These things are what kind of keeps us connected. But I feel like as our generation gets older, the younger generation thinks it's weird when we smile or wave at people. They're like, that's weird. They're creepy. When in reality, it's just normal. So I don't believe that this reality is far off. I know a lot of us born in the 90s or earlier remember the simple times before smartphones became a thing. You know, we had flip phones. They weren't fancy. They weren't very fun. They just did what they had to do. So I feel like back then the world wasn't as big, it wasn't as scary, we were more intimate, we were more connected with the people around us. And so I think that's so important to get back to, because with the rise of anxiety and depression these days, it's no wonder we're staying more inside, we're closing ourselves off, we don't want to be around people because we think we have to be perfect. So instead of using social media, we could actually call someone, we could wish someone a happy birthday or congratulations. I think too many times we forget how special it is when someone calls you up for your birthday and says like, happy birthday, love you, wish you well. And I think that really, to me, it makes the biggest difference. I think I love getting a phone call rather than a text or a message on social media. I think it just reminds me that my friends and family love me and that they support me and that they're always there for me and I can always talk to them a phone call away. So the negative effects of social media have greatly impacted society and how we talk to each other. Simple eye contact or a firm handshake is like far from the everyday normal nowadays. I feel like when I talk to a bunch of young kids, they're just this. There's no eye contact, there's no communication, it's just very bland and in their own world. So I think social media breaks would be a great start for our teenagers, for our kids, for ourselves. Suffering from mental health like depression, anxiety, I really do feel has come from social media, and it's no brainer that we do take more breaks as a society. So I think limiting our daily screen time and I lost it a little bit. I'm sorry. But like I was saying, I think limiting our screen time and just engaging face to face, maybe through a voice call, not through social media or texting, would be a great difference in our world. So maybe there's a challenge that you'd like to take on, but I do want to challenge you to go 3 days of limiting your social media screen time to maybe like 30 minutes a day. Like, see if you can set your timer on your phone to kind of give you a little warning, like you've used your time for the day, and then go use that extra time to go do something productive. Go make someone's day brighter, do something kind for someone else, and really engage. Maybe call your mom, call your grandma back, they want to hear from you. Um, Social media will always be there, but your family and friends will not be. So remember to take that time to make yourself happy, to make someone else happy, and reduce stress and anxiety in the end.